Hey, on this episode of SAMP&CHANCE Wrestling, we are going back to Revolution that happened this week in AEW's big show, Sting's retirement. The road to WrestleMania continues as well, so we'll take a look at Raw and see what's happening there and those implications as well, and how Mania is shaping up. So all this and so much more on this episode of SAMP&CHANCE. Good.
Good.
All right. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of SAMP&CHANCE. It's Tuesday. It's wrestling. It's SAMP&CHANCE. Samp, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Can't complain, my friend. I mean, life is life and everything is everything. And the choices we make is what we have to live with, right?
Yeah. Well said.
So, yeah, other than that, if we have any problems, they're self-created for the most part. But yeah, we're good. Everything is beautiful. Revolution happened this weekend on Sunday. Before we break it down, I just want to know your initial overall thoughts of the show.
My first thing that comes to mind, too long. Over 4 hours, I think that's a little bit long. I understand it Sting's retirement, make it special, but you really need 4 hours. 5 p.m. on the West Coast to 9:15, 9:05. It's a little bit late, a little bit
Yeah.
long, but I thought it was solid overall. Like, there were some good moments, had some good matches. It had a special feel to it because obviously of the Sting nostalgia and all that. I thought they did a good job overall. What about you?
Yeah, no, I again with you, first off, very long, but this is not just this show. If you actually go back and look at the last 2, 3, 4 pay-per-views that they've had, they're over 4 hours long, all of them.
Too long, man.
But I guess it's just because of the contracts and who they're running their pay-per-views through, Bleacher Report, this and that, they probably don't have any limitations per se that they can go. So
Do you think Tony Khan be like, you know what, 4 hours is too long? You got an 8-year-old kid you're watching it. 4 hours is too much. Get it down to three, 3.5 tops. Four is just pushing the line.
I think a lot of it has to do because they run a pay-per-view model very similar to what WWF used to run back in the day. I mean, for the longest time, it was just the four, right? SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and Mania. Those were your main shows. It wasn't until about 96, 97 they started adding the in
Once a
your
month.
houses
Yeah.
and once and stuff. So I think just because of that model, they try to get as much in. The one thing I did notice is there were no backstage segments. It was just match into match, preview, match. Like there was really nothing there otherwise other than matches. So they stacked these cards quite heavy
Yeah, it
too,
had a nice flow to it. I'll give them that. It
right?
flew. Nice
It
flow.
it was fluid. I mean, that way, there wasn't a lot of garbage backstage that they were going through. So I mean, when you got a card that's over like almost 5 to 7 matches long, you're giving each guy in each match an average of 20 to 25 minutes.
Don't forget they had that pre-show for an hour too, so it's really 5 hours if you want to sit and watch the whole thing. It's just outrageous.
Yeah. No, it can get pretty tedious, but I
Yeah,
mean, we're in the business of tedious, right? So
exactly.
so for me it was not a big deal. But yeah, let's just quickly run it down very quickly.
Yeah.
AEW TV Championship, Christian versus Danny Garcia. I'll tell you what, man, I think all these matches were good in terms of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were moments where you could see where they need to improve this and that. For me, the takeaways were that the cutaways were better this time. I think their camera crew's finally starting to get a hang of it, in my opinion, from Wembley to this show, in terms of just presenting the product. But for the match itself, it was a pretty standard match, man. Good guy versus bad guy. He had his whole crew out there, that being Christian. But Danny Garcia showed himself really well. You could see that Christian can't move as well as he used to at one time, obviously, with a lot of the guys that are going to be talked about here tonight. But for the most part, I thought it was a good match. And you got a guy like Danny Garcia who's been fighting CM Punk and Chris Jericho, so it's not like he's not in there with some good guys that he can learn from. Typical ending, Christian wins.
I
Overall,
think it's over time for Christian to think about his retirement match. And he's wrestling with the shirt on now. So that indicates that he's not in great shape. I'm not saying he's fat, but he doesn't have the body that he used to have to show it off. It's not a knock on him. He's almost 50. If he isn't 50, he's very slow.
Yeah.
in the ring. I don't think there's even a need to have him out there anymore. He could become a manager, become I don't know, an agent or something, because Garcia is okay. He moves around. He's young, but like I don't understand why they had this match. I didn't understand it at all. I think they just threw this out there for the sake of having a match. I know it was a title match, but at this point in the game, when you have so much younger talent, you don't need Christian out there anymore. I know they're saying he's a ring general, put him over, teach young guys, but when you can barely move like that, I mean, I think it's time to consider giving him a retirement match in the next year or so.
Well,
the first thing I thought when I see this looks like an old man. He looks frail. He moves slow. It's
Danny
just like
Danny
I don't
Garcia
get
is
it.
a guy. I agree with you. Danny Garcia is a guy that they really have high hopes for. So sometimes you got to put these guys in these matches in order to elevate them if you want to get them to the next level. That's my take on that.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the Continental Crown Championship. Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Bryan. Now, going into this match, I was thinking to myself, why even have it after you had him submitted and had him tap out the night before, going into this. But you called him, man. Eddie walks
Yeah.
away with the victory. I'll be honest, man. I mean, it was a decent match. I mean, it was
Bad.
very snug. It was hard hitting. You
Except for
could see,
those chops that he was hitting, so soft. They were so pathetic. So he put some power in those chops, dude. Come on, turn your hips and smack them like a little bit. Make us
yeah.
believe it. It was a good match overall, but I just don't understand Eddie Kingston, anything about him, his look, his popularity, the way he
My
dresses. He looks
my
like a guy in the crowd drinking 10 beers on the construction site.
my knock on Eddie is just the way he sells. I think you said that. It just
Yeah.
like when he got hit with those kicks and stuff, just this look on his face, the way I get it, what he was trying to do, but you got to sell better than that. That's just my take.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. I mean, the match wasn't bad itself, but this whole handshake thing, like they made a big deal. Like
Yeah,
Daniel Bryan's a man of all. Like I know he's a good guy backstage, but now they're making like he's a man of honor. You got to earn his handshake, I guess.
yeah.
I don't understand where that came from.
Well, I mean, I guess we got to start watching more of this program to kind of know these little nuances, right? But this was kind of fun to watch, to be honest, in terms of pay-per-views and wrestling shows. Because to be fair, I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, like I felt like I was guessing on some of my predictions just because I don't know the product that well. So that kind of made it fun a little bit to watch. Um, Probably the worst match of the night, the All-Star Scramble match, Jericho versus Wardlow, Mike Bennett, or sorry, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Hook, Brian Cage, Magnus, and Dante Martin. A lot of flubs in here, man.
It was a horrible match.
Yeah,
Horrible. The only thing that I stood out to me is there's a lot of big guys in there. Finally, we got to see some big guys with some muscle on them. That was the one thing that I noticed. But other than that, that match was terrible. Jericho is slow. He can barely move. He can't keep up anymore. I mean, he needs to think about. I hate keep saying this about these guys, right? But like they're just so slow now. It's one thing if you're older and you can move around and stuff. And Jericho still has a great character, but as far as his in-ring work goes, it's not very good. So many flubs. Lance Archer, Dante Martin, they all major flubs in this match. It was a horrible, horrible match. I'm just glad Wardlow won. Other than that, it stunk out the place. Worst match of the night by far.
yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And just like Lance Archer, he was trying to do the Undertaker walking of the ropes. He got the first one in, but I think they miscommunicated the second one, just the way it went down. I think he was supposed to be pulled down, but just the way it happened, it just didn't look good. You know what I mean? So, but you know what? It takes two hands to clap, right? So, I
Yep.
mean, they have to work with each other. And I think because this match came together so quickly, they didn't have any time to prepare. They had no time
Oh,
to,
they just threw a bunch of guys in the ring to get him on the
yeah,
pay-per-view. And
yeah, yeah.
the right guy won. Tony Khan did a good job. Wardlow, like I said, was going to win. You said, and other than that, on to the next. That one stunk.
Well, it really ties into the storyline of MJF. If they're long-term storytelling here, this makes sense. Wardlow is a guy that was very close to MJF, treated like dog crap, kind of like, that second guy that you have with you. And,
Yep.
but he's finally broken out on his own. He started getting a major push, got hurt, lost that push. So hopefully they can build this up with MJF coming back whenever he does, and just kind of ties into that storyline. So who knows? Maybe by the time he comes back, he will be champion and beat the champion, and you have a built-in storyline ready to go there. All
Yeah.
right, let's move on to the AEW International Champion match. A lot of belts here, brother. Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong. I liked this match. I thought it was really fun. I know they're not big guys and stuff, but these guys moved really well.
Yeah, they did. They
And,
fly around good.
they really sold the injuries. I like that. They kept that a part of the storyline. And they did a really good job of that. So, again, I think the right guy won here. Roderick won
Yeah,
at the time. Orange Cassidy is dealing with a lot of injuries, like with the roster so stacked. I don't know why they keep putting out the broken guys consistently.
because they're the only guys that he named. Like these other guys are just indie guys. They don't. Nobody knows who they are.
Right, right. But
Right.
again, this is where they need, like you said, and I've said, this is the opportunity they have now to build some talent, considering what the other roster looks like as well, a little bit,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So, this is good for Roderick Strong. Yeah, he's a product of WWE to a certain extent. But that being said, I think that just works well. I hope Orange Cassidy takes some time off, gets healed up, because that dude takes some serious hits, man.
He's so well. The thing is, he's so small, so you can just toss him like a rag doll, and ends up getting hurt. Yeah, it was a good match. They got good chemistry. There's some cool moves, like you said. They both sold really, really well, and yeah, it was a much better match than the match before that. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so at the end of this match, Kyle O'Reilly, Vancouver's own Delta Zone. Kyle O'Reilly is back. He was out for quite a while. I mean, that undisputed era from NXT, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly were the main competition at a time to AEW when they were going head to head. Having all those guys on that program, it's insane to think that all of them ended up injured.
You know what else it also tells me? Vince McMahon thought you guys are WWE guys, you guys are AEW, you guys get over there. That's another thing that stands out about that. It's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, like I mean, you think about it, Adam Cole, since he's been there, he was good for a few months and he got seriously injured. He's been out for an extended period of time. Same with Kyle O'Reilly. Bobby Fish says, forget this place, he quit. And Roderick Strong, I mean, he was in a neck brace for the longest time. So I don't know if that's just karma saying, hey, you guys left too soon, or
No, I think it's their style that they wrestle. They need to tone it down a little bit.
yeah,
They
yeah,
don't got
yeah.
to do so much every match, you know? They got
No,
to learn how to
100%.
none of these guys have any character. They need to
Yeah.
develop some character. They don't have to do as much crazy stuff all the time. Save it for the pay per view. When you see it all the time on the Dynamite and Collision, it's not as special as when you see it on the pay per view.
Yeah, no, 100%, brother. All right, FTR. I'm waiting to hear your reaction to this because I mean, we were texting back and forth while we were watching this. FTR, Hardwood, and Cash Wheeler versus Blackpool Combat Club members John Moxley, and I'm just going to call him Cesaro. Um, Castanogli. Um, wow, what do you think of the ring entrance?
Well, I love Cesaro. He's one of my favorite in ring guys. Character's dry as paint. But I looked up. I thought, oh, this looks cool. And I got a second look at it, and they were wearing what looked like they got it from Toys R Us or Value Village. It was cheap Road Warriors vest with the spike or whatever. It looked terrible. Even the IWC, who loves John Moxley, are saying that is horrible. That looks terrible. So I don't know why they were doing that. I guess because of Sting, Greensboro, Coliseum, Road Warriors had a lot of classic matches. They're trying to pay homage to them. Tony Khan spent a couple of grand, get him some nice stuff. That looked horrible, dude. It looked so low budget. And when you see stuff like that, you realize why AEW is a second tier promotion. Vince McMahon would never let those guys walk out looking like that. No way ever.
No, you take the time and the effort to make the proper.
Or don't do it at all then.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but the match itself was pretty solid, man.
The match was good, yeah.
To be honest, it was probably one of my favorite matches to watch. I mean, if you like classic old school type wrestling, this was what you got. Hard hitting, very snug, very tight. I call this sophisticated wrestling. Is that fair to say? You know, you have to be a certain breed of wrestling fan to appreciate what you see. A lot of people will look at it and go, yeah, but I mean, if you look at it from just the standpoint of wrestling, what a great match.
It's too bad. You're right. It was a great match. One of the best of the night.
Yeah.
The problem is that the only thing that was being talked about is how cheesy that Road Warriors gimmick was. All I'm seeing online is people talking about why they wear that and overshadowed a good match.
Well, and that's the problem with, that's what I'm talking about. You have to be a sophisticated wrestling fan, not a knock on wrestling fans. I mean, there's levels to this game, right?
Yeah.
As there's levels to being in the ring, there's also levels, in my opinion, in talking about what we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's very, it's just that kind of thing, man. What can you do?
Good match, though. Good match.
Great match.
Good snug moves, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So Blackpool comes out with the submission. This thing went 21 minutes long. I don't know what the future for Dax and those guys are. You know, if they're still going to be around, but I mean, who knows? Let's see what they're going to do, right? All right, let's move on. The only ladies match on this entire card, AEW Women's Championship match, Timeless Tony Storm against Dina Perazzo. So the story on this one, just for people to know, these two guys came up together. They were in WWE at one time together. They have matching tattoos, and here they are now facing one another. Tony Storm, her sidekick comes out in her old gear with the backward baseball cap and the tape under the eye sort of a deal. And Dana comes out. You know what? This could have been on TV. To be fair, no knock on the ladies. I just thought it was an average match best.
Yeah, they didn't have any special feel to it. It just felt like it was thrown together. Yeah, they could have saved that for Dynamite or Collision, whichever show they're on. It wasn't a very good match. Actually, one of the weaker matches of the night.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the match that I was looking forward to, and it did not disappoint as far as I'm concerned. We had Will Ospreay officially making his AEW debut against Kensuke Tashita. These guys were good, man. After watching that scramble match, this was a really, refreshing match to watch. These guys put on a great show. They worked really, really well together. Ironically enough, all the time that they've spent together, I believe this is the first time they've ever actually had a match against one another. Really solid. I liked it. I had no problem with it at all.
Yeah, it was a good match. Probably second best match of the night. Some good moves, hard hitting. They were in good sequence. They had good chemistry. The problem with these guys is nobody knows what. I know the hardcore guys that watch New Japan. No, nobody else. Nobody really watches New Japan in North America for the most part. Nobody knew why this match was there. It was just a match. It was a heck of a match, but these guys have no character, no charisma. If you just for in ring work, it was great.
Well, I mean, if they're using a match to kind of, start a story here, like they're all a part of the Don Callis family, which is a faction. You know, kind of a la Paul Heyman, it feels like to me, if you want my honest opinion. I could see what they're doing with this. I mean, they all shook hands at the end of the match, but he did beat him. There is dissension there a little bit. Let's see how this plays out. Ospreay.
Tony Khan is bringing this ROH style where we're gonna have a great match. We're gonna shake hands, but nobody has any character, charisma, or ring psychology. Well, sure, if you just want to watch a gymnastics match, these guys can flip and fly with the best of them, but they got no character, they got no charisma. They don't relate to the average guy, and that's the problem when you have these kind of matches. Although it was a great match, I'm talking everything else besides the in-ring stuff. Tony Khan has to realize not everything is ROH, buddy. This is the big leagues now.
Here's what I take away from this. If you think about it, we have to go back about maybe 5 to 7 years now. Before Ricochet, WWE's Ricochet had signed with WWE, he had a match with Will Ospreay, which people were just in awe of. Like, you got to go back and see it. But to your point, a lot of the veterans were upset with the match. They thought it was just nothing but a gimmick match. I don't know if that's just bitter old wrestlers or not, but a lot of the older guys had shared a lot of the views that you have.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. AEW World Championship match: Samoa Joe, Hangman Page, and Swerve Strickland. Good match. I really liked it, and I liked the storytelling in this. I almost felt that Samoa Joe was the secondary part. Even though he was world champion, I felt this match revolved around Swerve and Hangman still somehow. This is not.
They're trying to build these guys up as the next. Samoa's the old guy. He's got the belt. He'll have his run for a bit, like I said on the last show. But you're right. They're trying to feature Swerve as the next big star. Hangman Page with Samoa kind of being the ring general. The little bit of the bigger guy that can enforce some rules.
Right. But the end, you think, okay, fine. Samoa Joe tapped out Adam or Hangman, right? He got the win via submission through his Kahuna clutch or whatever he calls it. But the story is Hangman tapped out so Swerve couldn't win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love that. That was actually good. I like that element.
And Samoa gets to keep the belt. So they get a story out of that match, and Samoa stays champ. This is his last run as a champ. He's mid-40s. This is it. Let him have it.
I think Samoa drops it to Wardlow at some point here.
I'd like to see them give the belt to somebody like a Wardlow, see what he can do. Give it to the big, strong guy. You know what I mean? Let's see.
Outside of Adam Page holding that title for that little period that he did, if you look at every other guy that's been, or maybe Kenny Omega, every other guy who's held that belt, Chris Jericho, maybe okay, take out MJF too, I guess. But for the most part, they've all been veteran old guys,
Yeah.
right? Outside of MJ, I don't know what I don't know if you want to put Kenny Omega in that boat as well. But I mean, outside of MJF, they haven't really given the belt to anyone young.
Because they can't develop anybody. They don't know how to develop stars or make stars. So that's why they give them to the old guys. That's
Well,
the
this
problem
is
here.
now the time to give it to a guy like Wardlow. He fits the body. He has everything going for him. He's with the right faction.
Yeah.
Here you go. You got the
Yeah.
story, right? I mean, it's
Totally
up to them.
agree.
All right, it is now time for the highlight of the night. This is what we wanted to see. This is what everyone was there to see. I don't think this started till like 11:30 almost,
Yeah,
man,
that's
on the
insane.
East Coast, right? Sting, Darby Allin against the Young Bucks for the AEW tag team titles. Match starts off with a tribute to Sting, like a little promo. Says it's showtime for the last time. Surfer Sting comes out, Wolfpack Sting comes out. And for those who don't know, those are his sons. Those are his two boys. So he got his kids involved. His son said that a very interesting thing. I don't know my father not being a professional wrestler. So, you know, it's kind of an emotional thing for those guys a little bit that way as well to kind of, be there and be a part of it. Match itself was okay. I mean, Sting, I almost think Sting doesn't need to retire yet, but the way he was taking bumps and moving around and, he carried a lot of that match because, I mean, Darby went through that glass and his back looked really mangled, man. Like that Darby Allin's a crazy kid.
Yeah, this is the best match tonight just because of not even just the in-ring work. You could say a couple other matches might have been better that wise, but this had the story. You had JR, you had Tony Schiavone. And the first thing that stood out to me was it felt like a special match. You don't get that very often in wrestling anymore, especially with these new commentators like McAfee and them who are yelling, screaming, jumping on the tables. This was like more of a laid back, but those two iconic voices calling the match. It felt special. You could feel it.
How's that
JR,
wrestling feel?
just the way he drops words in, and it's like nobody else can do it like him. Even though he's not quite as good as he was, he still had those
Yeah.
classic moments. And what stole this show was that obviously that spot through the glass. Darby flew off the ladder, front flip there, smashed through the glass, through the tables, back was cut up. That almost overshadowed the whole match because that's all you see. It went viral. That clip's being passed around everywhere. Sting
Yeah.
still looks good. He's 60, he left it all. And I'm glad he went out on a high note, not looking slow and sluggish like some of these other guys we see. He went out, like he said, he could do one more match if he had to. That's the best way to end it when they're saying you could still go. Like I said in the show, old tradition is you lose and retire. Tony Khan is trying to break every mold in the book from big guys to strong guys. I told everybody Sting is going to win. He's not going to do the old famous, you have to retire and lose. Tony's not all about that. He wants to break every mold and cliche in the book. And that's why I knew Sting guys were going to win. It's a good match. I mean, Sting brought it. It was
I'll be
felt fun.
honest.
They had good commentating. It had a good feel. I enjoyed it.
I don't agree with a lot of Tony Khan, but I do agree with this. It's nice to see the guy go out on top, right? I mean, I appreciate that, right? It doesn't hurt anything. If anything, you have a story now. So who's going to be his tag team partner now going forward? Because he's got the tag titles, he just doesn't have a partner now. So that should be interesting to see where they go with this. Yeah, Darby getting hurt, being out of the match, that left Sting alone in there for quite a while, right? I mean, it brought out Ricky the Dragon to get involved. Flair taking kicks to the head. I'll say this: the Young Bucks got to do something other than super kicks, man.
So
I mean,
they got no character. So what
low
else?
super kicks, high super kicks, BTS kicks,
I
this and
know
that.
it's annoying, super annoying.
It's really annoying. It completely. That's not a finisher anymore.
I
I
know.
mean, like what's Sean supposed to do if he ever decides to come back? You can't do that anymore, right? I mean, at first I thought Ziggler kind of killed it, but now these guys have just taken it to the next level and destroyed it, man. But yeah, Flair taking a kick to the head. I mean, I hope that was soft. I don't understand why he's still taking punches, man. Like he's
Because
got.
he loves it. He lives
I
all he's
know
got.
he
He
loves
lives
it.
it.
I get it. It's like you and guys who love the gym. I love the gym too, but I mean, you just got to get it in, and I get that,
Yeah, yeah.
that's my
That's
thinking.
what it is. Flair's never going to stop doing that. He loves
No, no,
taking bumps and getting hit, and it's what he does. Is all he knows, and
yeah.
he's
So
for it. So if that's what he wants to do, I guess so. But
no, yeah. So I mean, that was basically it. Sting had his moments. I call it the Hulk up. I mean, he got strong. He kicked out. He did everything he possibly could. Um, I almost feel like I want to see Sting fight again now. You know what I
The only
mean?
thing with Sting is that, I'm kind of glad he's going all this. He had a good match. The problem is he's wearing a shirt again. Sting is a muscle guy. You always know Sting is like this. Now he's wearing all those shirts. He doesn't even show off his arms anymore. So you could tell his body. He's 60, early 60s. Like, I don't blame him. His
I
body's
mean,
giving a bit. And to see Sting, it's like when you see Hulk Hogan, so he's still got those big arms. You know Hogan for arms, right? So he still has them at 70. Looks amazing. But when you see some of these body guys and they're not body guys anymore, then it's kind of hard to see them. So I'm kind of glad he's calling it a day. Like you said, the best compliment anybody can give Sting, he can still keep going. And that's how he went out on top. Instead of dragging him to the finish line, he went strong.
there you go. All right,
Good way
guys.
to go out.
There you go. There you go. AEW Revolution in the bag. Not to put you on the spot, Mr. Chancellor, but do you want to rate this show? I will go as far as to call this a 7 out of 10. I would have maybe gone a little higher, but again, after 4.5 hours, the scramble match and the time length probably killed it for me. That didn't give it past a 7. You?
Yeah, Tony Khan doesn't have to have every match a 20-minute match. Sometimes I see a 5-7 minute match and keep the show going. Every match doesn't have to be 21 minutes. I'll give it a 7.5 just because it was Sting's retirement and the commentating.
Yeah.
Next time, people need to really listen. AEW's commentating versus WWE's commentating is night and day. It's night and day. I'm not a fan of any of the commentators of WWE. I don't like how Excalibur wears that mask. I think it looks goofy. I know it's his character. It looks so goofy. But at a commentating table. But yeah, I give it 7.5. Some good matches. Great commentating. Sting's retirement night, 7.5. Too long though.
All right. Fair play, man. All right, let's move to New York City. Very quickly before we get into it, we have not talked about the passing of Virgil. Let's touch on that really, really quick here, Chance. Virgil, man. I mean, here's my take. I look at Virgil and I love the character that he had in the 80s and didn't translate well for him. It didn't translate well for him as when he was a part of the NWO. This guy was basically a shell of himself at the end. He ended up getting dementia. Um, the only problem I have with this, honestly, and I'm going to be really honest here with you, is a lot of the guys that were paying tribute to him were also making a lot of fun of him, near the end, being at these kind of card shows or signings and stuff, and he's just trying to make a buck. You know what I'm saying? Like he was so down and out, and just he didn't manage his money well, or he didn't have any, or he just
Well, I
was.
don't think he made that much. He was never a top guy. He probably made 70, 80 to 100 grand a year. He didn't make that much.
But even if you make that much and you take your money and do it the right way, you know what I mean? And I just felt like a lot of the guys that were kind of paying tribute to him were also a lot of the same guys that would laugh at him.
Yeah, here's the thing people don't understand about that. So some of that was Virgil playing gimmick. So once he realized that the card shows and nobody wanted to pay for his autograph, he started having fun with it. So
Yeah.
he would go there, put up a table. Where
Yeah.
is everybody? $5. So he started making that a gimmick. He started making a couple dollars by nobody showing up, getting paid sponsors through Instagram and stuff. He actually had a very, very funny Instagram. He was making fun of himself when he realized nobody cares about me.
Yeah.
First thing that sticks out when I think about Virgil, his body. Guy was huge. Guy was jacked. And when he's $1 million man's manager and stuff, he was huge. Arms were huge. He always had a good look. And he always took care of his body. That stands out to me. A lot of guys don't. And that says, you don't take care of your body, you don't take your craft seriously. It's the first thing I think about.
Mhm.
But yeah, he was just never going to be a big star. He just didn't quite have it. He had a solid career, I guess. I mean, he lasted a long time. But yeah, he was funny on Instagram. He started making fun of himself after a while and just went with the joke.
Well,
kind of can't laugh at yourself, then
no, whatever, wherever he is and wherever his soul is being taken, we wish him the best, and I hope all his pain and everything he was ever feeling. I like to believe that when we die, we become whole again.
Yeah.
Whatever ailment, if you're missing a leg, your leg is back. You know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
I hope that was the truth for him. And
I always liked the guy. I always liked his
yeah,
look.
no, I had no problem with him. Virgil, rest in peace, and thank you for the memories.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. Monday Night Raw. You know what? I'm gonna be really honest. It was an average show at best.
I gotta tell you the one thing I wanted to know. That first segment was so boring, so cringe. I'm talking about Cody Rhodes and Seth saying the same stuff again, and they're whining about this and that. Even surprisingly, the IWC, who praised everything Seth and Cody do, they were on Instagram, on X, saying how bad this was, how cringy it was. It was over 20 minutes of listening to these two guys in the ring. Seth wearing that goofy outfit again, Cody in the suit. It was just, you don't need 21 minutes of them going through all this. That can end up done in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Dragged out, monotonous, horrible, horrible opening segment.
no, fair play, man. I mean, I get what they're doing. I get it. I mean, you got The Rock doing a 21
Yeah, but
minute.
Raw can talk. Cody and Seth
No,
can't
no, no, no,
talk.
no. I get it. I get what you're saying, but it just
Mhm.
WrestleMania just feels so weird because there's just so many different angles within these.
Do you know why WrestleMania feels weird? And it's so discombobulated. They're making matches, they're changing on the fly. It's so all over the place. It's so schizophrenic because the boss of all bosses ain't there to say, "Hey, slow down. This is how it's going to be." He ain't there no more to do that. He may be in the back, but he doesn't have that force. That's why you're seeing
I'm,
this stuff.
I'm gonna go the other way on that.
Chaotic.
I don't disagree, but I think it'd be even more chaotic if Vince was there because Vince is known for tearing up scripts in a minute.
Only for Raw. WrestleMania guys, he sets down. I'm talking for WrestleMania. He wouldn't allow this kind of like, okay, they're telling us what to do. Like he would just like, nope, this is our vision. We're gonna go this way. Let's move forward. For Raw scripts and SmackDown, yes, but for WrestleMania, that's his baby. He created this thing,
Well,
and you can see right now there's no true leader there.
I
You can
really
see it.
feel after what I saw last night that you're probably going to get a world champion out of Drew McIntyre because he feels like the odd man out. Like Seth is so focused on helping Cody and he's not focusing on his own match. And that was evident at the end. At the end of the show, you had the bloodline out there attacking people, and then Cody runs out. I guess he changes his clothes because he knows he has to come out at the end of the show. He runs out, takes out Solo. Then you have Jimmy out there running interference, which causes Jay to lose. So you got that match already coming.
But Drew's
Jay,
winning for sure. He's hot. He's young, strong. Seth's gonna lose the belt. He's gonna
right?
take some time off. Drew's winning for sure, 100%.
Right. So Drew's walk. So I'm what I'm making point of is at the end of the show, Drew's walking to the back. Seth music hits. You don't even pay attention to the guy that you're going to be facing at WrestleMania to go out and help someone and then to get blindsided and claymored by the dude. You know what I mean? And he's telling them, "You're not paying attention to me." So that's a
And
kind
another thing I don't like, we don't need to see Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth on night one, and then on night two, watch these guys again. That's too much. WrestleMania is supposed to be
Rock.
special.
That's Rock. That's
I don't
Rock
like that.
doing that. Rock is doing that because he's going to get a payout, a
Well, I
bonus.
don't care who's doing it. They should tell him no. It
I
doesn't
get
matter.
it. I'm telling. I get you. But this is
Too
the Rock
much.
trying to get into WrestleMania somehow, right?
Because the boss man ain't there no more. Nobody got respect. Nobody, there's no authority figure. They're like, hey, no, you're not coming this match. You're going to wait till SummerSlam. That's the bottom line. Nobody has that voice no more. The inmates are running the asylum. And that's the thing. Is like, it's cool to see Rock on Mania, but do we have to watch Roman fight twice? Do we have to watch Cody fight twice and Seth fight twice? Then it loses the special feel of it.
I get that, but like I said, until we see what they do, like we still have time, right? I mean,
Well, they can do whatever they want. It's just, it's too much.
I'm gonna reserve my decision in making being too critical because, like I said, if I go in too critical, and I said this to you about AEW, I said for me the worst thing I could possibly do is go in with expectations and notions, right? I mean, normally I like to go in with an expectation, but just because of the way this is being built, the show's being built, I don't want to go in with expectations yet. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna play out
I hope it's a good show and it might be the best Mania ever. Who knows? But what I'm
exactly.
saying, seeing these guys twice back to back, it's too much. It's not a special feel when you do it that way.
No, no, I agree with you, man. I'm not going to disagree with you at all on that. But like I said, I'm going to reserve serious kind of opinions until we start.
Yeah.
Let's just see. Let's see where they go. We got a few more weeks to go. So let's just see how this builds up. I mean, on SmackDown, we're going to get the four of them in the ring
Yeah.
and see where we go with that one. But yeah, it just makes no sense
No.
because I mean when would Seth defend then? Are you gonna have two world title, world heavyweight championship matches on night two? Is Seth gonna, I just don't see how this is gonna play. If I'm booking right now based on what they're giving us, you're gonna have that Rock tag team match first, and then
Yeah.
Seth goes in injured somehow, and that's how he loses the belt, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way. So they lose. It's gonna be a horrible night one for Cody and family, I believe. Seth is going to lose. They're going to lose the tag team match, and then everything's going to be up against the wall. But what does that say about Seth and everything he's built up if he goes into night two trying to help Cody win a world championship, considering he hated the guy, didn't like him, lost 4 times in a row to the other,
Well,
three
this is
times.
the thing, because the fans hashtag we want Cody, they changed everything up. This is supposed to be Rock and Roman, Seth and Cody. But because the fans were crying and chanting and hashtagging on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, they switched the whole thing up. So now everything's all schizophrenic and all screwed up, and it's just
I think Punk getting hurt really screwed things up too. No fault to him, but I mean, that changed the complete dynamic. You lost a couple of guys right off the get-go before this could even get started, right? I mean, it was pretty much etched in stone. You had those two and you had these two. And losing Punk really
and bad in the very bad booking. Whoever booked that SmackDown segment when The Rock came in the ring and took the mic from Cody to challenge him, that pissed all the IWC guys off. They could have done it a different way without having Cody in that ring. It was horrible booking, and the IWC is getting the main events and the matches they want. So hopefully they support it and buy it.
Well, let's see where we go, man. I mean, we still have a lot of time. I want to touch really quickly on Gunther versus Dominic. Dominic got the tar beat out of him, just dominated. Reason for that? Because Dom's going to go get married, so they needed to write him off for a little bit. So just a heads up there. They've announced a tournament of sorts to determine the number one contender for Gunther's title. So we'll see how that plays out.
The gauntlet match, yeah, it's gonna be Sami Zayn and Gunther.
Well, you know, if I had my way, I would love to see a Bronson Reed win it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either.
Right, I think those two, we've seen them work. We know what they're capable of, and I think it would just be a really fun WrestleMania match. No disrespect to Sami, I just don't like it. And if what you're saying is potentially true, that's just not fun because I don't want to see Sly Stone being out there as a trainer hitting meat to Sami Zayn. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no. So I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But Gunther and Bronson would be a good match. Two big, strong guys that could really do like a Sheamus, McIntyre when they did that match or whatever.
That would just be phenomenal. And you want to elevate the younger guys. You want to bring in the newer talent. This is the time.
This is the time. Yeah,
agreed. And that would be an awesome thing. And then what I would like to see is Gunther lose to Bronson Reed, and then he can go and challenge Drew McIntyre, and those two would have killer matches.
Oh, that'd be unbelievable.
Right? I mean, that's just me booking, but hey, we're just behind these mics, man.
Yeah, we don't know.
Brother man, I tell you what, I think we've basically covered everything except one thing. Congratulations to Paul Heyman, the first inductee into the 2024 Hall of Fame. Makes sense. WrestleMania is in Philadelphia, ECW country. Well deserved. I think, you know what, of all the people, he's one of the most deserving guys to be in there.
I know he's a Hall of Famer for sure, but the thing about this is what weakens the WWE Hall of Fame. Any other sport, you have to be retired. You're not active and you get into the Hall of Fame. He's going to literally go in the Hall of Fame and then be on 2 matches. So Hall of Fame, there is no Hall of Fame, by the way. This is just a pretend Hall of Fame because there's actually no place you can go see this, which is a problem. The second problem is in any other sport, you got to be retired for 5 years, then you get in because that you become an immortal, you become a legend. Now it's like we don't have enough guys to put in. Okay, he is a Hall of Fame. I'm not disputing that. Well, you got to wait till they're retired. Then they come back and feel special. We're going to see the guy 3 nights in a row. But I think that takes away from it. I get it. Philadelphia, ECW. I think we overhyped ECW as a failed business, but I mean, he didn't even pay his workers. He was a sleazy businessman. Yeah. McMahon made the guy. But at the end of the day, he does deserve it. But I like it better when the guys are retired, not active.
I get you, man. But you know what? It's wrestling, so I don't think they follow the rules of other
No, I know. But this doesn't seem right. But yeah.
It is what it is, but it just fits. It makes sense. If we were going to put him in,
I think, and that's another thing. Like he's been out there so long, the same facial expressions, the same lines. He is like red and yellow Hulk Hogan. It was great for a while. It's becoming stale. The whole bloodline stuff's becoming monotonous all the time. Get somebody out of there, switch it up. Let's have something new and fresh. Keep dragging this thing out. After Mania, hopefully they can do something different with it all.
I think after Mania, you're going to see a lot of things change, obviously. But you know what? At the end of the day, he is deserving, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't disagree.
From where he started as a photographer on ringside, and just building his way up. And
he was a late bloomer. He didn't really catch on to the last 10 years.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? He deserves it. I'm not denying it, but it's like, come on, wait till he retires.
Congratulations, regardless, and we'll go from there. All right, brother man, why don't we wrap this puppy up? I think we've covered everything. Everything is beautiful, guys and girls. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Bobby Sampson. His name is Mr. Chance Michaels.
And in the words of the great AC/DC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the podcast, we salute you.
We do salute you all. And guys, remember the week is young, so take your time, travel safe, and yeah, just take care of one another and love one another. And that's all I got to say today. On that note, Samp and Chance are out.